Oh my god, hey, my name is Mickey Jo, I'm a theatre-themed content creator here on social media, and I recently had the very exciting opportunity to sit down and chat with the stars of the Bonnie and Clyde proshot, aka Broadway leading man Jeremy Jordan and West End rising star Frances Mayli McCann. The two of them starred together in a fully staged concert production of Bonnie and Clyde at Theatre Royal Drury Lane back in January 2022, which I was lucky enough to see. That concert, which also featured a fantastic supporting cast, was also filmed for posterity in what we call in the theatre community a proshot, which has also just been released for you to watch online. Now, when I spoke with Jeremy and Frances, they were both in New York, where the night before they had attended a premiere event for this recording and had the chance to both see it for the first time. And I couldn't wait to ask them what they thought of it, as well as a few more questions.
Cool. So, oh my god, hey.
In the background, by the way, I see it. I see him.
I have them from basically everything that sells plush, but I thought I would plant him there. And his name is Jeremy Jordan.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
No. But I know.
You both got to see Bonnie and Clyde, the proshot, filmed live on stage last night, just over 2 years after performing it at Theatre Royal Drury Lane in the West End. What was it like getting to watch that back finally?
I don't think that I took a breath the whole time. I think I was like, oh my goodness, seeing you don't get to see your stage performances really ever, and then seeing it on this massive cinema screen was unbelievable and also amazing to relive after 2.5 years.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was really fun. And what was interesting for me was just watching all the discoveries being made, because we had like a few days of rehearsal and it was a full production, and we're in costumes, we're mic'd, there's lighting, there's a set, even though it's kind of minimal, and we're just like up there deciding and making discoveries like the whole time. I mean, amazingly, we didn't really drop any lines, and it was kind of wild to me. But yeah, it was that I could just see all of that, and it felt very fresh and raw. And Bonnie and Clyde should feel that way. It's like a very raw kind of a show. If it feels too polished, it doesn't capture the essence of that era and those people, you know.
I was going to ask you, Jeremy, what was it like returning to the show and having the chance to do that after its short-lived Broadway life? Because I guess when something like that happens and you're involved in a production and the time with it ends, you don't anticipate, oh, like a decade down the line, I'm going to get to do this again in a massive theatre and it's going to become an even bigger thing.
No, it was very bizarre. And I felt very, fortunate as well. It was 10 years almost to the day that we closed, just like 10 years in a month or something like that. And I think I realized that, like, as I was going on stage for the second performance, I was like, wait, oh, geez. But it felt like no time had passed at all, you know, and the cast was so well prepared. It was like I was walking in to just a slightly different production of it. And it didn't feel like I had to reinvent the wheel. Like I was remembering things that I had choices that I had made and different vocalizations, and then at the same time just like trying things out on the spot. And you know, I was also 10 years smarter and was in my late 30s at that point, and like much more grounded as a human being, I think, which I think really helped me discover new parts of the character that I had never thought of. And then obviously you're working with Frances and Natalie and George and everybody else, and finding, and Liam, and really finding these new energies. And it was just like, it was almost like filming a rehearsal, but like a really good rehearsal.
Yeah. And then Frances, where was your head at during that whole process? Because obviously you've gone on to have a sort of a more extended time with Bonnie and Clyde in the UK, both at the Arts and then going on to the Garrick. But for that first one, coming in to do it alongside Jeremy, having starred in it originally on Broadway, what was that feeling like?
Oh, it was incredible. Like, getting the call to say that I was going to play this part was unbelievable. For the longest time, I was like, really? I'm getting to do this? Because the, Die Ain't So Bad was in my rep my audition rep for years. And I think it was just one of those shows that the UK had been anticipating coming over for so long, having had your soundtrack from the Broadway production. But we had next to no time to put this together. So there was no time to overthink things and second guess yourself. It was just all your gut reaction and you had to follow it. And I'm really happy with like how they captured it. Watching it back last night, it's like, wow, it's really beautifully shot, and what they did from two performances is amazing. But then watching it back last night, I thought, oh, I feel like the way I play Bonnie now is completely different from the two concerts that we had, because I've had time, like Jeremy said, in those last 10 years, things come back to you, you're trying new things. And in the same way for me, I've had time away from the concert to the West End transfer to try new things and develop and evolve, because Frank lets you play around with the music and sing it how you want to sing it. So I've had time to think about that and change my performance.
Don't get me wrong. There were definitely things I saw that I would change. But I want to say one other thing that I thought of with the 10 years difference, at least for me, is that when I did it on Broadway, I was nobody. I hadn't done Smash. I had done like one film, and I was an alternate on West Side Story on Broadway. Like, that was all I'd done. And coming back to do that show where I, was one of the first big things I ever did. It's the first time I ever had a lead on Broadway, like to lead a new show. Even though it was so short-lived, walking back and then entering that space with the cast and feeling their energy and respect, which was very strange for me, and then the audience's reaction as well. Stepping back into that role where we couldn't sell a ticket in New York, but here we are, sold out, 2,000 plus seat theater. How much seats is that there? It was crazy.
Just over 2,000.
Yeah, and it was. I mean, it was just like, oh, it was like it finally was being recognized for what we always thought it was, and just could never quite get people to recognize at the beginning, and it was really kind of cool to get to experience that.
Yeah. It's lovely as well that you got to be a part of ushering in what became a great life for the show in the UK. And there's something very poetic about the overlap of your return to the show with the start of your journey, Francis, and then what you would go on to. And talking as well about how quickly the whole thing was put together. It's amazing what Nick Winston managed to achieve in that concert staging, and what he did, all of the concerts that he puts together is fantastic. Did you have...
Well, now we know. I think we figured that out really quickly. We're like, oh, this is a concert.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Did either of you have a favorite moment getting to watch the pro shot that you hadn't had the chance to experience in person? So something that happened, a scene or a song that you weren't in, that you finally had the chance to watch?
I guess getting to watch it, because I would listen to the score anyway as it was playing, but not get to see it from out front. Things like When I Drive, just the chemistry you and George have, it's so much fun, and it's just such a brilliant song. But then also They Raise a Little Hell is honestly just something else, and getting to see it that close, it's like having that captured and on film for everyone to see is such a gift. So yeah, getting to see that and hear is just amazing.
For me, it was, I feel like I'm always on stage in that show, but I loved seeing like all of the little, like the moment with like the police officer, like feeling you, like I never see any of that stuff. Like some of the stuff I watch from off stage, but it's like the stuff that I'm on stage and like not watching because I'm in my own world. That's always stuff that I'm like, oh wow, that's what happens there, like during Made in America, I never get to see that because I'm always running off stage and changing costumes and grabbing props, and so those are the kind of things that I really was like surprised and really delighted to get to see for the first time.
I want to touch briefly on both of your characterizations, because I was thinking about it earlier, and what's so interesting is the duality that each of them have, because we first meet Clyde sort of, he wants to be this outlaw, but there's something that you do, and it's really a through line in your career because you do it very well in The Great Gatsby as well, of bringing this comic charm to the thing. And he is very funny and he's very charming, I think, necessarily. And then, Frances, you have sort of the inverse of that, where we have this expectation of her as this glamorous, like she wants to go to Hollywood. But I remember there was a Q&A at the Arts and you talked about kind of a key detail about her being how short-tempered she was and how ready for a fight she is. And so she has that sort of fierceness to her as well. And so each of them, I think, is sort of the opposite of what you'd expect in a way.
Well, the one thing that I love the most about Clyde is that he's just like a scamp. You know, you just see this like twinkle in his eye. Like he's just waiting for a moment to like pull one over on you and just to like get one in, you know. And usually it's playful, but sometimes it's not. And even like during the bank robbery scene where he finally shoots the teller, like he's still like, he's pissed, but he still like finds a way to like be, you know what, making a joke out of it and making it light. And I think that sort of adds to his charm. And the same thing with Bonnie, like even at like the very end of what I love the most about the end of the play is that even though they're in their darkest moment, they still find a way to make each other laugh. And I think that's what makes the show work so well, for me at least, because you could just do this dark, gritty, ugly thing. And it's not that we don't do that in parts, but it's just more interesting to me to find humor in things.
Yeah, and it's part of the charm of the show, having the two of have these light moments, because you love them. You don't want to sit through a show and, you know, feel the criminals that they are. You actually want to root for them and you like them. You have to. And I think that's what the character does.
But there's one thing that the Blanche says where she says something like, multiple people say that Clyde is a bad seed, and you see it. You're like, he's like not a good kid. Like he's going to get in trouble. He's going to like bring this person down with him, but you can't help but just like want to be in his orbit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And same thing with Bonnie. I mean, she's just so magnetic. And she's got that singing voice.
It's nice to play against the expectation, because that can be boring in a way. It's like you already know these characters, but finding things about them that take you by surprise, it's nice to play into that and add another dimension.
Yeah, and what you managed to achieve together, especially given such a short amount of time, and the chemistry that the two of you managed to build was really remarkable and comes across very well on screen in the recording. It's really fantastic.
Oh, great.
Well, thanks. I mean, I walked into the room and you know, got to deal with this lovely human being. And I think that's all chemistry is just finding what you like about that person. And there's many things to like about Frankie, so that's easy. And just sort of leaning into that like really hard. And I think as theater people, we are really good at making friends, because we just, at least for me, I'll speak for myself, like I'm like a really trusting person. And so I immediately see the best in people. And you know, that times that's bitten me in the behind, but other times I think it allows me to sort of be all in with someone the moment I meet them.
Yeah, and it was easy. Like, you know, Jeremy is such a generous actor and hugely talented and such a kind person that it made it so easy to form that chemistry and that bond. And also, like I said, when you do a theatre show, it's like a family. You spend so much time together and you get so close. And, you know, we did have little time for this show, but everyone was so passionate about it and cared so much about it. So that just immediately brought us together, like in no time.
Yeah. And we were also like, at the same time as, it's on my shoulder, together. At the same time as being passionate, we were all thrown into the fire of like, you're doing this full production off book in costumes, fully mic'd. full orchestra, giant audience. Oh, and we're filming it.
And we're going to film it forever. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're like, there's no other choice than to just go.
Of your entire careers then, is there a performance that you wish had been filmed? And are there any performances or any like particular evenings even of a performance that you're glad weren't filmed for whatever reason?
Most. Most. Oh gosh, I don't know.
Wish Our Ladies of Perpetual Succor was filmed, because that was really like a breakthrough for us girls that did the show, for the show itself. And even it's what, like, I say almost 10 years since we did it, but people still talk about it, and it's something that I still hold very dear, and it was so much fun. But then on the other hand, I feel like it had to be live. Yeah. So I don't know if they're so well onto the screen film production. Yeah.
My fiance Erin tells me about that production constantly and talks about how fantastic and how groundbreaking it was.
Oh wow. For me, I think my answer would be Finding Neverland at ART, which is what I did. Not only for proof that I can do a decent Scottish accent, but because I didn't get to go to Broadway with it. It was a whole thing, but I was infinitely proud of the work that we did in that show, and it was never the same when it did transfer. And that's not me being biased. I mean, maybe it is, but other people have said that. But it was one of the proudest moments of my career. And there might be like a couple of little bootlegs of like mini number things, but like it's not out there, you know. So not that I'm aware of, but yeah, that was like the thing that I was like, that's the thing that fell through the cracks for me.
Well, fantastic that we have Bonnie and Clyde in such a brilliantly staged production with your fantastic performances, the killer supporting cast, all the vocals. I remember I was watching it back and I was thinking, gosh, and I'd forgotten how great Liam sounded in this concert, and Trevor and Natalie being so funny, and George. It's just everyone. It's a really brilliant capture, and it's, I mean, just how great that you can have this success story for a show like Bonnie and Clyde. And even now, even like in a very difficult, very busy Broadway season like this currently is, you know, there are shows struggling, there are shows that don't necessarily make it. Who knows what is going to be happening in 10 years' time? So I think that's very encouraging.
Yeah, it's a weird climate, and I think we're finding, especially when there's so many things opening and there's so few sort of accolades that things can get within that, you're finding that the things that work the most are the things that the people are being drawn to the most. And it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, because often that means things that are like commercially viable, but there are some gems that are still out there. But like with Bonnie and Clyde, you know, the people that saw it loved it. They just couldn't get people to come in the door. You know, we didn't have big stars to name. It was two kids that had done a little bit of Broadway and, you know, had their faces on a poster, but and everybody knew who Bonnie and Clyde was. But it's just one of those shows that took time to the second we released the album, and we put a lot of work into the album too. And in fact, we as a cast all helped finance the album. It wasn't going to get made, and we donated a portion of our paychecks to make the album. And I think that if we hadn't done that, then it wouldn't have had the life. It wouldn't have become a cult hit. It wouldn't be produced all over the world. It wouldn't have had this lovely rest and run. So, you know, it was really a passion project, and we willed it as much as we could to be, because we believed in it. And I think if you believe in something enough, it will have its chance to kind of be something.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank goodness that you made that cast recording. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. Have a great time in Great Gatsby this evening. Francis, enjoy seeing Jeremy in the Great Gatsby. It's a party.
Well, all right. I'm going to have to warm up.
Thank you so much. It was great to chat to you.
Thanks, Mickey Joe. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for watching this interview. I hope that you enjoyed, and don't forget to go stream the pro shot of Bonnie and Clyde from BonnieClydeLive.com. Comment down below with which theatre stars you'd like to see me chatting to next, and I hope that everyone is staying safe and that you have a stagey day. For 10 more seconds, I'm MickeyJoTheatre. Oh my god, hey. Thanks for watching, have a stagey day. Subscribe!